Hey team, Matt Wyke here to talk about Harley Davidson, a case study. In this case study, we learn about a certain situation that many major U.S. businesses, as well as international businesses, have faced at the onset of Trump's presidency. Burchan Guillotin and Seok Woo Kwon contrast the impending issues covered in the case with a quote from the president. "We're proud of you, made in America, Harley Davidson." What seems to be a positive message is actually a statement with pressured implications as to how Harley Davidson should be running their operations. Let's look at what started this praising message. Trump had just released his America First foreign policy. According to an official White House statement, the foreign policy is to be focused on American interests and American national security. By withdrawing from the Trans Pacific Partnership, he believes that a heavily restricted international trade can be a way to grow the U.S. economy, return millions of jobs to America, and revitalize communities. The president showcases his thoughts on Twitter frequently, and in many cases has damaged the stock prices of companies in the millions and billions of dollars. An increasing tension between businesses who globalized in the current administration, Harley Davidson ultimately would have saved millions of dollars from the help of the Trans Pacific Partnership. The reason Harley Davidson stepped into the promising and increasing brick markets was because their domestic sales in the US were dwindling from the aftermath of the 2008 global financial crisis. For such an iconic company with American values, it proved to be necessary that they not only deal in the US, but the rest of the world. The challenges and opportunities facing Harley Davidson. In what could have been a great opportunity for Harley Davidson, investors felt extremely confident in the first quarter of 2017 due to this Trump rally. This rally was promoting a pro growth policy of massive tax cuts, infrastructure spending, and of course, deregulation. Being that this was said to be almost as great as a rally as JFK's during his presidency, these such high expectations are difficult to overcome, especially since these highly anticipated policies would have been overshadowed by Trump's foreign policies. As briefly mentioned in my summary, the policy with withdrawing from the Trans Pacific Partnership jeopardizes Harley Davidson's ability to continue growth in Asia. Because sales and net income were decreasing, especially in their main US market, the opportunity of further globalizing could in turn damage their stock prices further. This challenging and risky strategy could potentially cost Harley Davidson billions in market value and some of its US customers. It is also worth noting that the anti-pollution program costs them millions of dollars per year. It's true, millennials prefer experiences rather than expensive possessions, like motorcycles. The generations of Harley Davidson's image of customer demographics have been dwindling over the decades. Despite changing their product mix to suit this shift, sales continue to decrease. Is drastic change needed in the product of Harley Davidson supplies? Because of the withdrawal from the Trans Pacific Partnership, as well as potential renegotiations of NAFTA, globalization opportunities are minimalized, leaving Harley Davidson with the choice to focus their efforts on their decreasing domestic sales. This contradicts, though, what domestically struggling businesses can do. Because the US market crashed after the 2008 global financial crisis, companies like Harley Davidson suffered. Because they primarily focused on the US market, America first, and not the global market, they were not prepared for crisis. It's a good argument that you should make for American companies to globalize, diversifying their income in case of crisis. The global and domestic context facing CEO Matthew Levatich. The reason the Trans Pacific Partnership was so important for not only Harley Davidson, but also many US companies, was because it could have saved them millions of dollars. In order to offset the 100% tariff barriers in Malaysia and Thailand, this company built plants in India, Gurgaon, and Bawal. Avoiding these prohibitive taxes was crucial for Harley Davidson. And by stepping into these fast growing and promising markets of Brazil, Russia, and India, and China, also known as BRIC countries, the company could also offset the decline in their US sales that they had so much focused on. Of course, Harley Davidson isn't the only company manufacturing and selling motorcycles. Japan's brands of Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Yamaha all have reputations for smaller, more reasonably priced motorcycles. But they also include sports bikes and off-road bikes. Although Harley Davidson motorcycles tend to sell for a premium, Honda still competes with them to be the most commonly owned brand of motorcycle. Harley Davidson's market share for motorcycles with 601cc and above engines, that's the size of engine, is 53.1%. This is slightly more than half of the market. However, there's a great amount of pressure that challenges the market share. Here in the US, we have another company called Polaris Industries, who sells the Indian brand motorcycles. They established a significant price discounts which undercut Harley Davidson and potentially attracted their customers looking for a cheaper alternative. Despite this pressure that Polaris Industries has put on Harley Davidson, Levitich expected their sales to still somehow increase. This growth in competition and changing a loyal customer base proves otherwise. How foreign policy affects business and international expansion. Foreign policy affects business, and businesses can affect foreign policy. It is extremely common for businesses to interact with companies and customers around the world, especially in a diverse country like the United States. Having a plan of action to diplomatically deal with other countries affects these business interactions. In the instance that trade policies change the cost of raw materials and the import and export tariffs are also subject to change, this directly alters business price and profitability on markets and could potentially cause them to find different materials to use. It is more likely that a foreign policy will affect businesses if they are expanded internationally. The purpose of international expansion could be to produce goods at cheaper costs or to establish brand recognition, perhaps captivating a positive market share. These foreign policy, like the president's America First, makes expanding internationally very difficult, if not impossible, which leaves me with a recommendation for Levitich. International expansion is no longer an option for Harley Davidson. His hands are tied moving forward. The president and his base is extremely volatile when it comes to stocks of companies who do not blindly follow the president. Long ago are the days that you can speak out against a policy and not be affected. The risk of losing millions and billions of dollars from a Trump tweet outweigh the positives of opportunity to diversify and revitalize a struggling company. It was the US market that made Harley Davidson one of, if not the most innovative and recognizable motorcycle brand in the world. It was the US market that made them who they are, and it's time to move towards a new direction. I recommend to Levitich to look forward and focus on a youthful movement of motorcycle riders. Through my personal experience, I know of at least 5 people who ride motorcycles, and they're only in their 20s. to touch base on what I had previously said, yes, millennials prefer experiences and not expensive possessions. However, that's exactly what Harley Davidson can provide. A rebranding of Harley Davidson that focuses on a youthful customer who can go on day trips with their friends through the mountains, to the beach, explore a new town, or drive by themselves to get away from everyday life. It is things like these that attract a younger crowd, not the old white bearded male riding to a biker bar in the middle of nowhere. The way to do this in the most part is through marketing with Instagram ads or any type of social media ads in general. Sales and promotions are also pretty effective, I believe in this, as, as well as an affordable price. Millennials don't have the extra income that their parents must have had. Tapping into this new demographic can potentially offset any issues the president has caused. And who knows, maybe we'll see a different approach to foreign trade policy come 2020. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I look forward to interacting with the rest of you guys. Take care.